Hi, my name is Sydney Taylor. I play Shaw Landon in the movie Marked Men, Rule, and Shaw, and this is Young Entertainment. I'm so excited to be FaceTiming you. Of
So excited to be FaceTiming you. Thanks for picking up.
course.
Here at Young Entertainment, we're all about like masterclass moments. Most of our audience is young people looking to break into the field. So that's kind of just like the lens at which we answer or ask our questions. So just kind of like think about it from that angle. So to kick it off, I just want to know more about like the audition process for Mark Men, Rule, and Shaw. What was that like for you?
Yeah, my audition process was pretty standard to start. I sent in a self-tape to the casting office and then didn't expect to hear anything. And then they asked me to send in another tape with some different scenes, which is good news, but still
Yeah.
didn't think I would hear anything. And then I got an email from my team that they had attached the director at that point. They hadn't before, and it was Nick Cassavetes, which is crazy. And they said that he wanted to have a meeting with me, like a one-on-one general meeting, which very, very not normal. I've never experienced that before.
Uh-huh.
And so I called my team and I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, what does he want? Like, do I have to like
Mhm.
have lines ready? Do I have to like display my, I don't know what that is. And they were like, yeah, he probably just wants to talk to you and meet you and see you in person. That's it. Like, it's not a big stressful thing, says them. And so I went into this meeting. I was horrifically nervous. I got there like 30 minutes early and he got there like 20 minutes late. So
Um,
I was there for a while, but the extra time was like nice to calm myself down, and he just talked about the movie and it was so lovely. And then I had a chemistry read with Chase after that,
mhm.
and very nervous for that as well. And Chase tells me that the moment I got the job was like the weirdest, like wasn't even acting, wasn't in the scene,
Yeah.
wasn't doing anything. This my audition scene was the scene where I'm like following him through the tattoo shop, and
Mhm.
he's supposed to like fall back into this tattoo chair and I have to like crawl on top of him. And they put out this chair for Chase to fall into and crawl on top of him, and it's like a flimsy folding chair.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it and they were kind of talking, and I was looking at the chair that my stuff was in, and it was like a big cushy like lounge chair.
Uh-huh.
And I like interrupted them. I was like, my knees are not going to fit on the side of that. Like his body takes up the whole seat.
Yeah.
Can we use that chair? And everyone started laughing. And I didn't think it was funny. I was being so dead serious. And everyone started laughing and they like switched the chairs for me. But I guess that was the moment that I was bold enough to ask.
That's so cool. Like you did something different, and that's when they're like, we know
No, but
this
I
is.
didn't mean to. Like I was just trying to be like logical about it. And this audition was very important to me. And I was like, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna have a stupid chair mess me up.
it's funny.
I guess I could
Yeah.
at least ask to change it. And
Yeah.
it was the moment.
Wait, that's so cool. And like, when did you find out that you had booked the role? Did you find out like right after that day, or was it like a few weeks? Kind of
It
like
was
what was the experience like?
it was pretty soon right after. It was the next day. And because I cared about this audition so much, I made myself go to the movie theater that morning because I was so stressed and like knew I wouldn't be able to stay off my phone. So I went somewhere where I had to. I went and saw Pearl. And then about halfway through, I started getting texts from my manager about like going to the studio's building again. And I was like, okay. They're like, yeah, they just want to ask you some questions. And I was like, okay. I'm at the movies. Like, do I need to leave? And she goes, no, hold tight. I'm like, okay, great. And then I get home and I guess they were trying to decide whether like Nick wanted to tell me and then he had to get on a plane somewhere, and then Chase wanted to tell me, but Chase was filming in Vancouver, so they had to wait until he had a break. So they told me to get on a Zoom call with the producer, and then Chase's face popped up in the woods in like a military outfit.
Uh-huh.
And he was just like, "Yeah, I just had one more question for you. Your audition was great yesterday. I just have one more question. Would you want to come to Bulgaria and film with me?" And in my utter shock and not knowing what to do, I said, "No, I'm pretty busy these next few months, actually. I don't think I can make it." Um, and he said, "I know you're sarcastic, but you might wanna cut the act because 'cause they're gonna think you're serious."
My god.
And then I said, "Thank you very much," and I, then told them that I was gonna get off the call and go scream with my mom, but I wasn't gonna
Uh-huh.
scream on the call because that felt embarrassing and
Yeah.
doing a bit too much for me, and then I got off the call and screamed with my mom.
Oh my god. Wait, that's amazing. That's honestly one of my favorite, like, stories of, like, finding out, like, going from Pearl, favorite mo like, one of my favorite movies ever to that, that's so
So
special.
good. Yeah, it
Awesome.
was a very interesting day.
Yes, very interesting. Awesome, and then, yeah, I guess just starting at the beginning, what was that first day of filming like when you actually got there, and how did that kinda set the tone for the rest of, filming the entire movie?
Yeah, so what ended up being the first day was not supposed to be the first day. They ended up throwing a last extra day into production early on because Nick wanted some, like, B-roll essentially of everyone being very emotional over the passing that had occurred.
Mhm.
Wasn't in the script, he just, like, wanted footage of it. There was no lines, there was no, like, plan, he just wanted the actors to show up and to, like, cry, basically. Which for a set you've never been on and people you don't know, I'm in a random country,
That's a lot. Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, now I just have to go to set and sob with no prep." Awesome. But
Mhm.
it turned out to be a really good start because it did make me feel sort of like, it was kinda like a very much a sink or swim moment.
Yeah.
Like, "Okay, if I could do this with, like, no prep, no time to, like, think about it, and I can, like, pull it off." And Alexander was there that day, and I was, like, crying with him, and I was crying by myself and, like, walking around this house, looking at these pictures of these kids that I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, if I can do that, I feel like I can do the rest of this because I prep pretty hard, like, I don't go to set unless I'm, like, 100% about
Mhm.
all of the scenes I'm doing that day." So I felt like the sink or swim moment did help me out, but it was a little bit stressful for a first day.
Yeah. No, that does definitely sound stressful, but I guess it also, like you mentioned, like, kinda broke that, like, barrier or, like, that
Yeah,
like, you
definitely.
had to get comfortable so fast, like, right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a good icebreaker.
Yeah, and also going into it, did you know anything about your character Shaw Landon, like, before? Had you heard of, like, the Markman book series, or did you know, like, anything about it, or
I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't heard of the books. I had read the book, throughout my audition process just because 'cause I'm a big reader, so, like, anytime there's any adaptations I'm auditioning for, I usually read the book for them.
yeah.
But I didn't know anything about it. Uh, I just sort of had to, like, I initially pulled a lot of prep from the book after I got the job, um, and then sort of as we were filming, I had to, like, let that go because the script and the book are slightly different, and so I just sort of tried to hold on to the foundation of the character once I got a hold of it from the book and carry that through what I could with the script as we went on filming.
Mhm. Makes sense. Yeah, and going off of that as well, obviously we know you from your prior roles. We absolutely love you in American Born Chinese. So like from your prior roles, and this is kind of like a different role than you would, I guess, would play typically. Did you take any, acting skills or any experiences from your past works that you brought onto set for Mark Men?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the American Born Chinese set was such a, like, pivotal thing for me. I was very, very close with the cast and, I was on set. I mean, I literally worked maybe, like, once a week, but I was on set, like, every day just because I
Yeah,
was close with everyone.
yeah.
But I feel like from that set, I got to see how much of a difference it makes when so many personal touches are put into, like, scripts and
Mhm.
set deck and acting and prep and everything. Like, even just set deck alone, like, I heard so many people from the crew and the cast talking about, like, how they really resonated that it felt like an Asian American home in, like, such a realistic way, and the only reason they resonated with it is because the people that did the set deck did something
Mhm.
that they resonated with. And so I feel like I did try to take that with me a little bit in making choices that felt right to me and that I resonated with and that I had experienced and carrying that into the scene, and Nick is really good at that.
Yeah.
When he writes, like, he really does write from his heart and from his experiences and things that he truly believes. And so if you like go to him and say, "Hey, this line isn't feeling right for me," or it's like kind of feeling weird. Like in the initial script, there was a lot of anything around sex. Like it was like my character was always like, "Ew, and that felt very weird to me because she's like a
Yeah.
pre-med student. I was like, "Oh, seems like a little bit childish." And so
Uh-huh.
I thought that was weird. So I went to him and I explained why I thought that didn't work and why it didn't make sense to me. And he agreed and he changed it, but with going to him, which he does encourage, you
Yeah.
do have to have, like, a reason because he had
Yeah.
a reason in writing it. So if you want something to be adjusted, you can't just be like, "Well, I don't like it. Well, I don't wanna say
Mhm.
it." Like,
Yeah.
you have a reason behind it because he had a reason in writing it. And I feel like him bringing his own personal experiences and me bringing my own personal experiences created a very nice happy medium.
Yeah, very cool. No, it's super cool that he was, like, allowed you to have those, like, open
Yeah.
conversations. Cause yeah, that's super important, I feel like. And yeah, I also want to touch on something you previously mentioned. You said you come into, every scene or every day of filming, like, super prepared, but, when that, camera's on you and they say action, how do you get into that headspace of, like, Shaw and get ready to play your character?
Yeah, it sort of depends on the scene.
Mhm,
Like, if it's a fun scene in, like, the bar or, like, a party or, like, very light, then I don't have to, like, lock in as much because we had a good camaraderie on set and everybody was friends, so I could sort of just, like, mess around
yeah,
until they call rolling, and then you sort of have to, like, lock into what you're doing in the actual scene, but you can still keep that sort of lighthearted energy. When it comes to, like, more serious scenes, I do sort of go into somewhat of, like, a silent
mhm,
mode, and I know I look mad, but I'm really just, like, trying to
mhm.
focus, so then when they call action, I'm already there, and I don't have to, like, find it as the first few lines are happening. I can sort of already be locked in from the start, and I do find that the more the more I don't remember of the take,
Yeah,
like, sometimes I'll go through it and I don't remember anything I did, but that's usually best because sometimes if you, like, deliver a line and you're like, "Oh, that was really funny," and you're thinking about that it was funny that you said it while you're doing the scene, then the next line you say is probably gonna suck. So,
uh-huh.
like, the longer you can stay locked in and, like, not think about anything that you're doing, I usually find is better.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Yeah, that's gonna be super helpful to our young audience, so really appreciate that. And I guess moving just ahead, this movie has an insane cast line of Chase, Alexander, Paul, Evan, all those people. Obviously you work with Chase the most closely. Just what was it like working with him? Did you guys do anything offset to kind of prepare and just like work together to kind of create that chemistry that you see in the film?
Yeah, the chemistry was luckily not super hard to find. I do
Mhm.
feel like that the way that Chase set up his character and did all of his prep, and the way that I set up my character and did all my prep, they naturally melted quite well together from the start, which was very nice that we didn't have to work for that specifically. But, of course, being on set, like, you get to know people and you want to have as close a relationship as possible so that you don't have to work for that closeness on camera, and you don't want anything to look, like, awkward or forced or weird, so we would go to dinner, we would go on walks. I went on walks, like, every time I got the chance in Bulgaria just because I was so stressed,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I would take him on some of my walks that were, like, less stressful
Yeah,
and, get dinner, and we would go to the club sometimes if we were feeling extra bold.
very fun.
Yeah, just, like, fun cast things, but I will say we got very lucky and we didn't have to work super hard for our chemistry and didn't have to, like, search for it as we were filming because I do feel like the way we had our characters, they matched up really well.
Yeah, definitely. And just in general, I saw your Instagram right before this. You have so many group cast photos, and it seems like you guys had so much fun together. Just what was it like the entire kind of group ensemble, and what did you guys do like during downtime on set to kind of, create that such strong bond?
It was like the best days when everyone was on set.
Uh-huh.
Like it can get a little bit like the day can feel quite long when there's only a couple people or only like one person
Mhm.
and you're just sitting around all day. But when everyone is there, like most people like don't go to like their own trailers or whatever space they have for us. Like everybody usually stayed on set together. We would bring speakers, we would like bump music
Yeah.
so loud. I think the crew hated us and we're like in the bar scene, the cast holding they had was above the bar. And so we're like blaring music so loud and we're dancing around and stomping on the floor. And I think the entire crew hated us that day. And actually, I think someone did come upstairs and was like,
Yeah.
um, just once though. Uh,
Just
yeah, it's just the one time. And like I got a little carried away. It was really fun though. And I do feel like I got so lucky having such great cast twice in 1 year because I did do American Born Chinese and this in the same year.
yeah.
And getting a cast that you are so close with is not super common.
Yeah.
But we had the best time when everybody was on set. Like the Halloween party was super fun. Everybody was in costumes
Wow.
and like, there were a bunch of extras around and they're playing actual music, which you
Yeah.
don't always have on set. The club was super fun because again, they were playing actual music, which they usually cut it off so that you can hear their lines. But
Yeah.
Nick is very big on like the energy of the
Yeah.
scene as opposed to hearing the lines because you can always put it in post and he would rather have it feel like an actual club than just like fake dancing
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
it gets really awkward. So we had the best time, truly.
Awesome. That sounds so fun and special. And yeah, I wanted to touch one more thing on your like relationship and working with Chase in this film. We always ask actors this because I feel like a lot of people always have their different ways in going about it, but like intimacy coordinators and working on those intimate scenes, was that something you had on set of this movie, or how did you just go about preparing for those more intimate scenes to make sure like everyone's comfortable?
Yeah, so we did have an intimacy coordinator. It was a lovely, lovely lady named Corinne Evans, who I'm actually
Mhm.
still friends with to this
Oh,
day. I
nice.
saw her yesterday, funny enough. We did have an intimacy coordinator, and it was a very structured thing for our film specifically because it is a romance. So we didn't want to like wing it and just like hope and pray it
Yeah.
works. Especially with me being on the younger side, like everyone was very considerate of my comfortability and making sure that I was okay. So I had a meeting with the intimacy coordinator. We discussed everything, and you have a whole separate contract for
Mhm.
intimate scenes, and nothing that you like decide on beforehand can be changed like on the
Okay.
day. So
Yeah.
if you decided on certain garments for that day in your contract, and then on the day the director's like, I think this would be better without your bra, and you can be like, well, it's not in my contract.
Yeah.
Sorry. So things like safety measures like that were really, really nice to have. But I did have a really good relationship with the intimacy coordinator, with Chase, with Nick, the director. Everybody was very lovely, very considerate of me, very considerate of Chase. When it came to the actual intimate scenes, you sort of it's kind of like a choreographed thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, so like you work out each movement that you're gonna do, and you don't really do anything that you haven't planned, or at least that's the way that we did it. And it's a closed set, so nobody can be there. There's no monitors. It's just a cameraman, sound, and that's it.
Okay.
So it's a very safe space, and you can always take breaks, and you can always like take a minute. But I had a really good experience, and I know that a lot of people don't, and unfortunately, it's still like a tricky thing to have on set. But I did get very lucky in that I didn't have any negative experiences walking away because I think everyone was so adamant in me being okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool, amazing. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, just a couple more questions for you. So we obviously had to ask about, in the movie, Chase has an insane amount of tattoos. And I saw a video where you were like talking with each other and he mentioned actually getting a staph infection. Just what went into that and like what was that about it or what was that experience from like your perspective like?
He did get a staph infection. I don't think it was from the tattoos. I think he got it in the club. I really do. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah,
Look, I don't know, but clubs are nasty.
yeah,
Like,
fair. Yeah.
and so He did get a staph infection in his elbow
Uh-huh.
towards the end of filming, and it did make things a little challenging. His arm looked like a baby freaking seal. He couldn't
Gosh.
do anything with it, and he's like in a sling, and it looks so pitiful and sad. And
Yeah.
we would like, I remember he said it just like started hurting, and I gave him like my parents are nurses, so I went into
Yeah.
like nurse mode, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Here's ibuprofen, here's acetaminophen. I'm gonna give you an ice
Uh-huh.
pack. Come get me when it's done. I'll redo it for you." And then it just got worse the next day, and we went to set and got ready, and then like an hour later, I get a knock on my door, and they're like, "So Chase is going to the hospital." And I was
Jeez.
like, they're like, yeah, so his elbow, it's a bit more of an issue than we thought it was gonna be. And so then, but he kept trying to like be okay. So he would like leave the hospital and he would go back to set the next day. And then
Yeah.
he would have to leave set to go to the hospital again. So it
Gosh.
was like a constant thing for days. And eventually they were like, just take a few days,
Yeah.
get better. It's okay. So they just shot some stuff with me alone. Um, a lot of like the shots of me during the breakup where I'm like on the bed or like in the bat where it's like just me. All of that was thrown in there because we needed to shoot something while Chase was gone. My scenes with Ella were shot then because Chase was gone. It definitely threw a wrench in. And actually the scene where I'm supposed to be seducing him in the tattoo shop, if you watch, like, when he picks me up to get out of the chair, like, he only does it with one arm because his
Yeah.
other one wasn't working.
Oh, wow.
So it was an interesting issue to have.
Yeah,
Glad it wasn't
especially
the
yeah,
issue.
in, like, a foreign country, especially all that happening.
Yeah, that
That's
was a
that's
big
an
thing.
entire
They were like, "You're an American. We don't really" it was scary, but
it
it
all
was
worked out, it all worked
it
out,
all
yeah.
worked out. He
Yeah,
was fine. He's fine now,
yeah,
and now he has a great story.
exactly, exactly. Cool, and were there any, challenges that you had while filming this project? And if so, how did you overcome just any of those?
Yeah, definitely. This film, for me, I think my biggest challenge was, like, coping or, like, learning how to cope with the immense amount of stress,
Mhm.
because I had never been in a film before, I definitely never led one.
Yeah,
It's a big thing to bear, and so having all of that on your shoulders, I didn't know how to handle it really, and I am very much an overthinker, and like I said, I prep very, very hard, and so I, like, literally wouldn't go to sleep until I had everything memorized. Some of the longer scenes, I would prep, like, a week in advance, and so I think I just, like, probably stressed myself out more than anything. Some tears were definitely shed, some um, it was definitely a learning curve of,
yeah,
like, managing the stress, but I do think that it helped me in general, 'cause I think it really just came because I cared so much,
yeah,
I wanted it to be good, I wanted to be good, I didn't wanna walk away feeling like I didn't do my best,
yeah,
and so I do feel like the stress made me, like, really lock in and try my hardest and leave no room for error, no room for, like, feeling like I could have tried harder, feeling like I could have done this. I do feel like the stress brought out, like, my A game in making sure that I absolutely nailed everything that I could. Obviously, you can't be, like, perfect, but I do feel like I was as good as I could be at the time, and I don't think I would have felt that pressure without the immense amount of stress that it was.
yeah. Do you have, like, any advice for, I guess, like, younger people in general, like, especially if it's their first, major production, like, dealing with that stress and that pressure? Like, did anything, like, help you during that time?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I listened to a lot of music, but I think
Mhm.
what gave me the most peace of mind was my prep.
Yeah,
The more I prepped and the better I felt about the scenes and what we were doing that day, and the more, like, okay I felt about that stuff, the less stressed I was, because I feel like that was where a lot of the stress came from, was, like, not, like, worried I wasn't gonna be good enough or be able to keep up with everybody, and so I feel like the more prepared I could be, the less stressed I was. But I also think just, like, doing what's best for you and finding little things, finding moments in the day to breathe. Like I said, I went on a lot of walks, like,
Yeah.
every day off. I was going on these, like, literally, like, 4-hour walks.
Uh-huh.
I'm being so serious. Like, I would walk away from the hotel in some random direction,
Uh,
and then I would have, like, headphones on, and I would keep walking until I was lost.
yeah.
And then I would just try to find my way back to the hotel. I wouldn't look up directions. I would just, like, be like, "Yeah, I walked okay, the mountains are there, and the hotel is back that way somewhere."
Yeah.
And I would just keep walking, and so that particularly was really helpful to me, but I do think you just have to, like, find your own stuff. Music is really great, talking to people is really great. Bottling it up is not great. I did a lot of that. But I do think people have to, like, find their own things of what's helpful to them and trying different things and being okay if maybe you don't feel like you're coping the best, but,
Yeah.
like, coping the best that you can on that day, I think is, like, good enough, you know?
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, yeah, I feel like it's different for every single person, but that was super good advice. So thanks for sharing that. And just final question for you. So, just what was the most, special part of working on this project? And for people who haven't seen the film yet, what are you most excited for people to see, for your character especially, or just in general?
I think the most special thing about this project, and at least from my character in particular, I was very big on, like, because it is a romance and I feel like I don't watch romances a lot actually, but I was very big on my character not changing once she got into a relationship. That was really important to me because I do feel like in media, at least, sometimes when women get in relationships, they get, like, minimized a little bit and, like, they can become sort of like one note, like, then they're just, like, the girlfriend or, like,
Yeah.
they're nice or they're smart or whatever, and I really do feel like we succeeded in making sure that didn't happen. I actually feel like, if anything, she shines a little bit more as a person when she does get into this relationship. And I hope that people find a lot of relatability in it. I found a lot of relatability in the friendship, particularly with Aiden, her roommate. There's a really nice, like, girl debrief scene after her birthday where it's, like, a very long scene, but it felt very realistic to me of just, like, this is how girls talk, and this is how they talk with their friends, and they joke around, and they talk about what happened the night before, and I particularly really like that scene and that relationship in general. But I think that this movie is just, like, I think it has something for everybody, and I know everyone says that, but it's look, I think it does.
I definitely agree. I agree. Awesome. Yeah. Well, can't wait for everyone who hasn't seen it to see it yet. And amazing. I know we have like 2 minutes left. I don't know if you're super pressed for time. I had like 3 to 4 like rapid fire questions if you just
Go
want to roll
for
through
it.
those. Amazing. So yeah, at the end of our interviews, we always love to do this kind of like rapid fire round. It's all about like firsts for you as an actor. So I'll just roll through like 3 to 4 of them, just first thing that comes to mind, and we'll just get them, we'll roll through them if that works. Amazing. So, first one, what was your first time on set as an actor?
My first time on set was when I was 12 years old, and it was a indie horror movie that I had booked, and I was playing the younger version of the lead.
Amazing. Do you remember your first professional audition?
First professional audition? I don't, but they were all tapes because I lived in Nashville and I was auditioning for stuff in LA, so it was all they were all the same to me, like, I didn't care if they were professional or not.
Yeah.
Like, I
Uh,
treated them.
Fair. What was the first time that you had to cry on cue?
On that indie short film or indie horror
Okay.
film, it was, yeah, interesting, and my mom was, like, standing over there, and I just had to, like,
Mhm.
sob over nothing. It was pretty fun.
What was or is there any, specific actor, actress that you would love to work with in the future?
Oh my god, Daisy Edgar Jones would be cool. I love normal people.
Mhm.
So maybe her.
That's such a good answer, such a good answer. Do you have a favorite line from a film or TV show that, like, instantly pops into your mind? That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. I just watched, I just rewatched Step Brothers.
Mm.
Dude, anything in that.
Yeah,
Any line.
such a good one. Cool, 2 more. Do you have a favorite snack at Crafty?
Mm, I drink a lot of tea when I'm on set, so I almost always have like a green tea or a chamomile tea in my hand on set.
Cool, and last one, d is there, like, a first TV show or film that inspired you to wanna become an actor?
Um, I remember growing up, Mamma Mia was always my favorite movie,
Such a
and
good
I
one.
was
Mhm.
obsessed with Amanda in that.
Yeah,
So maybe that one. I don't think I knew that like acting was a job at the time, but I think I loved it so much because I was like, oh, I want to be like that. Like I want to
yeah.
do whatever she's doing. I want to do that. I am Sydney Taylor, and do not forget to subscribe to Young Entertainment.